I learned about this guy, Dan Wooten, from following Depp and Heard, and as you probably know, Dan wrote not such nice things about Johnny and the Sun, and now this person, Alex Turby, has allegations out against Dan. This here is from a larger article in where Alex finds Dan's hard drive, which will be linked below, but this topic is a little different. This is about how Dan turns it around and says Alex was actually the one who was being abusive. It's titled, "To Try and Paint Me as Abusive is Abusive." By the way, this is from, of course, the Byline Times. When the news of the world shut down in disgrace in 2011 amid the phone hacking scandal, Wooten moved first to the Daily Mail as editor-at-large before returning to the Murdoch fold with the Sun titles. He eventually moved from the Sun in 2021 after falling out with editor Victoria Newton and found himself at GB News, where Mr. Turby says he turned his back on a long background of left-leaning personal politics. Well, what do you know? This whole time, I've been thinking Dan was right-wing. He presents himself as right-wing now, but seems like he was left-leaning. So who actually knows what Dan's politics are? But I digress. Not going to get into that. What else we got? When I knew him, his politics were center-to-center left, he says. He was always so proud that one of his first breaks was interviewing Helen Clark when she was a Labour Prime Minister in New Zealand. Dan comes from a family of liberal people. His family are educators. When I knew him, his politics were the same as theirs. I never got an inkling from him that he would ever align himself with the hard right. I think he is faking it on GB News for the money and because he burnt so many bridges in the mainstream media. You know what, Alex? I agree again. Mr. Turby looks back with his regrets on the 4 years from 2009 to 2013 he spent with Wooten. What a surprise. Regrets. I wish I'd been braver, he told the Byline Times. I wish I'd walked away sooner. I wish I hadn't given him so much of what should have been an amazing part of my life. However, I did, and I'm over it. I'm not here for some kind of personal revenge against Dan or for how I was mistreated. I'm not that kind of person. The powerful platform Wooten enjoys with GB News allowed the presenter to launch a live on-air attack after the first part of this newspaper's investigation was published on Byline Times. Its journalists and others, he alleges, are part of a hard-left campaign to have the channel cancelled, but it seems like Dan was also on the left at one point. It just seems to me there's nothing political here going on in any way, shape, or form. All the parties are men. Mr. Turby, who had already written about the Holdall revelations in a viral Twitter thread, was attacked by his former partner as abusive live on air, with Wooten making some strong allegations that Alex Turby had previously threatened him with violence, which I remember, which obviously Alex is saying isn't true. Just a reminder, we don't know what's true yet, but it's not all about truth in this case. It's about Dan learning what it's like to be in the center of allegations that are not proven, not even gone to court. And they print Alex's defense against Dan. To try and paint me as abusive is abusive in itself, he says. It was an extension of his behavior when we're together. I know I am no abuser and I am square with that. I still share a dog with my most recent ex. I am close friends with the two before that. I am in a very happy and supportive relationship now. On the alleged threat of violence, Mr. Turby says, on more than one occasion, Dan targeted my friends online. And knowing what I did about Martin branding, I was scared of what Dan would do. Something did happen not long after the TV presenter Caroline Flack had died around February 2020. Just to recap, Martin Branning is allegedly a fake name Dan used to trick people into doing not safe for work acts. I saw Dan crying what I thought were crocodile tears about Caroline. It galled me. So I tweeted briefly about the Holdall discovery. I deleted the post after about 8 hours. I'd had a call from a mutual contact who put pressure on me on Dan's behalf. Later, Dan's lawyer started following me on social media. It felt intentional to silence me with legal threats. At that exact time, Dan went after someone very close to me. It felt predatory and intentional. I didn't see any choice but to act. And yes, I messaged him. And yes, I told him to stay the F-U-C-K away from my friends. And in the heat of the moment, I used strong words, but just words. I'm not a violent person. Mr. Turby is still bruised by Wooten's on-air verbal assault, they say. The moment I saw it, I felt sick, he says. It was very scary. I knew that he was going to hit back at me for speaking out. That's in character with the man I know. But to try and call me an abuser live on TV when I could find 100 character references to the contrary, that I didn't see coming. And I still can't believe his bosses let it happen. It's deranged. Yet, despite the deeply personal ad bonum abuse, a national newscaster allowed Wooten to bring down on his former partner, Alex Turby, is remaining calm and committed to his truth. I'm hoping the story goes somewhere, he says. I'm hoping the right people look at what has gone on and that people learn the truth, and that is it. By the way, this article is by the two men, Tom Latcham and Dan Evans, who are former colleagues of Dan. Once again, not random journalists trying to get the scoop. So that's about it for this part. I'm sure there's going to be more to come. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you're not subscribed here, consider it. If you don't, I'll be real sad about it. But I'll get over it. Done here for now. See you next time.